Welcome to an exciting journey into the world of nucleic acids.
Nucleic acids are the very essential of life na matay.
Welcome to an exciting journey into the world of nucleic acids.
Nucleic acids are the very essence of life. They store and transmit genetic information, determining everything from the color of your eyes to the genetic traits of all living organisms.
So whether you're a budding scientist, a curious student, or just someone with a passion for understanding the molecular basis of life, this experiment is your window into the captivating world of biochemistry. Get ready to put on your lab coat and dive headfirst into our biochemistry experiment, extraction of DNA. Let's begin this journey of discovery together.
Our material for these experiments are Now we have all the materials, let's start our experiment.
For the first step, we're going to cut the plant material into small pieces and break it down. Yo, yo, yo! After that, put it in a cup. Now let's put 1 teaspoon of salt. On a separate cup, put 250 ml of water. Then, add 5 teaspoons of dishwashing liquid into the water. And then add 2 teaspoons of liquid soap solution to the mixture. Separate the liquid portion using strainer. Add 2 drops of pineapple juice to the solution. Then after that, stir gently with a toothpick. And then after that, add 2 teaspoons of ethyl alcohol to the solution. Observe for 1 minute.
For garlic with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there's a slight bubbling and forming observed. There are no noticeable changes. After 30 minutes, separation of layers and clumps are noticeable. Cloudy formation and precipitation starts to appear. After 2 hours, further separation of layers and clumping is observed. The DNA become more evident with increased cloudiness and precipitation. For garlic with salt, liquid soap solution, and pineapple juice, after 1 minute, the mixture appeared uniform and there were no visible changes observed. After 30 minutes, a slight change in the appearance of the treated area was observed. There was a faint cloudy layer forming on the surface, indicating some DNA extraction had begun. After 2 hours, the solution had become visibly cloudy and DNA became noticeable compared to when it was observed for 30 minutes. For garlic with salt, liquid soap solution, and ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there is a formation of cloudy or milky layers at the interface. After 30 minutes, the layer becomes more distinct and thicker. Visible strands of DNA precipitating out into the alcohol layer is observed. After 2 hours, the precipitation of DNA is even more pronounced and more significant amount of DNA strands is noticeable. For garlic with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and chilled ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there is no visible separation of DNA from the mixture. the solution appears uniform. After 30 minutes, slight cloudiness of the mixture is observed. After 2 hours, the mixture in the chilled ethyl alcohol has clarified and a visible white stringy substance or the DNA has settled the top of the alcohol layer. For garlic with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and warm ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, the mixture appears cloudy. There are no other visible changes observed. After 30 minutes, separation of layers are noticeable and strands of DNA become visible. After 2 hours, DNA becomes more evident and numerous DNA has risen into the liquid.
And now, we're going to do the same procedure but with different plant material, which is mango.
For the mango with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and ethyl alcohol. For 1 minute, there were no visible changes. Yet, however, the mixture appears to be cloudy and heterogeneous. The presence of DNA is not apparent to the naked eye at this early stage, and there was a soapy appearance due to the liquid soap solution. After 30 minutes, there was a noticeable change in the mixture, and there are distinct layers that have formed in the solution. Due to the addition of salt, there is a formation of DNA precipitates and the white stringy substance forming at the interface between the liquid layers, which is the extracted DNA. But the DNA was not yet fully separated from the solution. After 2 hours, the separation of layers is more apparent and further precipitation, forming a more visible solid mass at the interface. DNA can be seen as a clump material. For the mango with salt, liquid soap solution, and pineapple juice, for 1 minute, there were no visible changes and the mixture appears as a cloudy and homogeneous solution. No visible DNA extraction is occurring yet, and the mixture also have a soapy appearance. After 30 minutes, the mixture has separated into distinct layers. All cellular components were released including the DNA. And after 2 hours, the separation of layers was more distinct and there were more visible solid mass at the interface. For the mango with salt, liquid soap solution, and ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there were no visible changes and the mixture had a soapy and cloudy appearance. No DNA is visible yet. After 30 minutes, the mixture is settled and distinct layers have formed. The soap solution is further broken down the cell membranes, releasing cellular contents, including DNA. The DNA of the mango can be seen as a stringy, white substance forming at the interface between layers. After 2 hours, the separation of the layers is more distinct and the formation of the DNA extracted becomes further visible. Ethyl alcohol has facilitated DNA precipitation to the point where you have a visible clump of extracted DNA. For the mango with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and chilled ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there were no visible changes and the cellular contents have been released due to the liquid soap. It has a soapy appearance, but the extracted DNA was still not visible. After 30 minutes, the chilled ethyl alcohol promotes DNA precipitation and helps to quickly and efficiently precipitate DNA from the solution. This is because DNA is less soluble in cold ethanol. The mixture is settled and the distinct layers are formed. The DNA extract starts to appear through a stringy white substance forming between the liquid layers. After 2 hours, the separation of layers can be seen more clearly and the precipitation has become more visible at the interface. The addition of chilled ethyl alcohol results in a visible clump of the DNA extract. For the mango with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and warm ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there were no visible changes in the mixture. It also appears cloudy and the DNA was not yet visible to the naked eye. The mixture also gives a soapy appearance because of the added liquid soap solution. After 30 minutes, The mixture has settled and the layers in the solution have formed. Warm ethyl alcohol slightly accelerated the precipitation, but the DNA is not yet fully visible. DNA extraction started due to the cloudy opaque layer forming white substance. After 2 hours, distinct layers are more evident. The warm ethyl alcohol further precipitates and isolates the DNA. The visible clump has become more evident, but the mixture is still soapy in appearance.
We will do the same procedures but with different plant materials, which is dragon fruit.
For dragon fruit with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there is a formation of clump strings of particles in the solution. Also, there is a bubble of foaming being formed. The color of the dragon fruit extract becomes less vibrant upon mixing with the solution. DNA is not yet visible. After 30 minutes, we have observed that the top layer of the mixture is blurry or cloudy. The DNA is more visible compared to a shorter extraction time. Still, the color of the mixture is less vibrant. After 2 hours, the separation of layers become more distinct. DNA was more visible. For dragon fruit with salt, liquid soap solution, and pineapple juice, after 1 minute, there is a formation of clump strings particles in the solution. The color of the dragon fruit extract becomes less vibrant upon mixing with the solution. DNA is not yet visible. After 30 minutes, there is a formation of bubbles and a distinct separation of particles was observed. DNA was also quite visible. After 2 hours, there is an evident separation of layers and DNA become visible within this long duration. For dragon fruit with salt, liquid soap solution, and ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there is a bit of separation of the dragon fruit particles in the solution and it clumped. The color of the dragon fruit extract becomes less vibrant upon mixing with the solution. Minimal DNA formation is observed. After 30 minutes, there is a DNA clump forming a white stringy substance in lower layer. There is a distinct separation of particles, top layer and bottom layer. After 2 hours, DNA formation becomes visible and separation of layers appears more pronounced. For dragon fruit with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and chilled ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there is a bit of separation of the dragon fruit particles in the solution and there are clumps of particles. The color of the dragon fruit extract becomes less vibrant upon mixing with the solution. There is minimal DNA formation. After 30 minutes, there is clumping of particles formed and distinct separation of layers appears. DNA was also quite visible. After 2 hours, DNA formation becomes visible and the separation layer become more evident. For dragon fruit with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and warm ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, there is a formation of white clumps and the separation of particles. The color of the dragon fruit extract becomes less vibrant upon mixing with the solution. Minimal DNA formation is observed. After 30 minutes, there is a visible appearance of white stringy substance. DNA was quite visible. After 2 hours, due to warm ethyl alcohol, the DNA isolates further and the clumping of particles becomes pronounced. Distinct separation of layers appears visibly.
Now let's extract the DNA of the cabbage.
For cabbage with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and ethyl alcohol, for 1 minute, initially, we have noticed that the mixture appears cloudy or murky and there are some small particles or debris in the solution. After 30 minutes, the solution starts to clarify. There is a formation of some froth or foam on the surface, and DNA was more evident as the components have had more time to interact. By 2 hours, The solution has become significantly clearer as DNA continues to be extracted from the cabbage cells. We saw a visible layer of stringy or clumpy material forming in the solution, which is the extracted DNA. The liquid also appears more translucent. For the cabbage with salt, liquid soap solution, and pineapple juice, for 1 minute, initially, we noticed the mixture turning cloudy and frothy. After 30 minutes, we observed that the solution became clearer as the DNA precipitates out of the mixture, forming visible strands or clumps. With extended time of 2 hours, the DNA extraction continues to improve, and we have seen even more DNA precipitate at the bottom of the container or along the sides. For the cabbage with salt, liquid soap solution, and ethyl alcohol, at 1 minute, we observe a cloudy or murky appearance in the container containing the mixture. Some tiny particles or debris have settled at the bottom, and there was no significant separations of layers or visible DNA strands yet. After 30 minutes, we noticed a clearer separation of layers in the container. A white stringy substance, which was extracted DNA, started to become more visible at the interface between the alcohol and the cabbage mixture. The solution was observed to have been further cleared up with less cloudiness. At 2 hours, the extracted DNA was more evident and visible as a white stringy mass at the alcohol-cabbage interface compared to when it was observed within 30 minutes. The solution was much more clearer compared to the initial 1-minute observation, and we have observed significant separation between the layers, with the DNA extracted at the top and the rest of the liquid at the bottom. For the cabbage with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and chilled ethyl alcohol, in the first minute, we have observed the mixture turning cloudy or murky as the soap and salt began to break down and the extract released. There is a slight precipitation of some solid particles, which indicates the release of cellular debris or cellular components. After 30 minutes, the solution becomes even cloudier as more cellular contents are released. We observe some separation of layers, with the denser debris settling at the bottom and the liquid phase floating above it. The DNA also started to become more visible as white stringy strands in the liquid. After 2 hours, the solution should have been clarified further, with the DNA strands becoming more apparent. We have observed the formation of a distinct layer of DNA on top of the liquid, forming a viscous slimy layer. The remaining cellular debris and other impurities have settled at the bottom of the container, leaving a relatively clear DNA layer. For the cabbage with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and warm ethyl alcohol, in the first minute, we noticed some cloudiness or small debris in the solution. Some small bubbles are formed as the pineapple juice and warm ethyl alcohol mixed with the cabbage solution. The mixture started to separate into distinct layers. After 30 minutes, the solution settled further and we have observed clearer distinctions between the layers. The DNA extraction process was more visible, with stringy white strands forming at the interface between the mixture, and the solution appears more translucent. The DNA strands have become more noticeable. For 2 hours, the DNA extraction is well underway and we have seen even more prominent white strands of DNA at the interface. The layers of the solution was clearly separated, and the extracted DNA strands have increased in quantity, and the solution looks more distinct and clearer overall.
Now we are going to extract DNA from the blood. Go, go, go!
For blood with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and ethyl alcohol, for 1 minute, there is initial mixing of the components. There is a formation of a cloudy mixture and separation between layers started occurring. For 30 minutes, further separation between the layers is noticeable with a more distinct boundary. There are appearances of stringy or clumpy materials. And then for 2 hours, we notice a more pronounced layer of extracted DNA at the interface between the aqueous and ethyl alcohol layers. The solution contains many residual cellular debris compared to when it was observed for 30 minutes. For the blood with salt, liquid soap solution, and pineapple juice, for 1 minute, initial mixing of the components was observed, resulting in a cloudy or milky mixture. There are no visible signs of DNA extraction yet. For 30 minutes, we noticed some separation between the layers. There is a formation of froth
or foam on the surface. And for 2 hours, more distinct separation between the layers was observed, with the aqueous layer at the bottom and a clearer layer above. The DNA has started to precipitate at the interface between the aqueous layer and the upper layer. The extracted DNA also appeared as a visible white, stringy substance at the interface between the layers. For blood with salt, liquid soap solution, and ethyl alcohol, after 1 minute, mixture was observed with some initial cloudiness due to the combination of components. At 30 minutes, we notice a more distinct separation between the aqueous layer and the ethyl alcohol layer. The aqueous layer appears more translucent or cloudy, and the DNA strand starts to precipitate and become visible with the aqueous layer. After 2 hours, DNA extraction is more apparent. The aqueous layer contains a visible, stringy, and clumpy mass of extracted DNA. For the blood with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and chilled ethyl alcohol, for the first minute, initially the components mix, with the ethyl alcohol layer floating on top and the aqueous components settling at the bottom. There is no visible DNA extraction at this early stage. After 30 minutes, we notice a clearer separation between the aqueous and ethyl alcohol layers. The DNA strands begin to precipitate and become visible as cloudy or stringy material at the interface between the layers. And at the 2-hour mark, DNA extraction was more pronounced. We observe a distinct layer of extracted DNA at the interface between the aqueous and ethyl alcohol layers. Aqueous layer is observed to contain cellular debris. For the blood with salt, liquid soap solution, pineapple juice, and warm ethyl alcohol, in the first minute, the warm ethyl alcohol encourages better mixing of the components. The solution becomes cloudy due to the interaction between the warm ethyl alcohol and the cellular components in the blood. Some initial separation of layers occurred, but DNA extraction is unlikely to be significant. After 30 minutes, we observe more distinct separation between the layers, with the DNA beginning to precipitate. The ethyl alcohol layer becomes clearer as DNA extraction progresses. The DNA appears as visible white strands or clumps at the interface between the layers. By the 2-hour mark, the DNA extraction process was more advanced. A thicker layer of extracted DNA was visible at the interface between the aqueous and ethyl alcohol layers, and the ethyl alcohol layer remains clear, while the aqueous layer is observed to have cellular debris and other impurities.